Content, information, and opinions expressed during the related show are those of the show personalities and guest alone, and not those of Vic Canellis Media Group, its parent, affiliates, or stations. VCMG Live is not responsible for any content, information, or opinions expressed. User bears full responsibility for their reliance on such content, information, or opinions.
Amp2.tv presents Tell Us Your Business, where you're invited on the air to tell us what makes your business stand out in the community. It's important we hear from you to tell us all we need to know about what you do best. Tell Us Your Business uses the latest radio and television production systems, and all shows can be seen on amp2.tv. If you have a question for our guest, call 888-565-1470. Now, let's get ready as our guest hits the airwaves and informs us about what we need to know on Tell Us Your Business.
Good evening, everybody. My name is David Trumpler. I am a mortgage loan officer with Homebridge Financial Services. Here with me this evening is Gizelle Reyes. Gizelle Reyes is with Sea Blue Credit Repair. And we're going to sit here and talk about mortgages as well as credit repair. Thank you for joining me this evening, Gizelle.
Thank you, David, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
You're welcome. There's a lot of myths that surround credit scores and credit repair, and we will get into talking about mortgages a little bit later. But I brought Gizelle here for a number of reasons, because with where things are at in our country today, a lot of people are really suffering, and they're seeing their credit score get hurt, and it absolutely affects them in a number of things, like a mortgage, trying to get a mortgage, but also when they're trying to get a credit card and a number of other things. And Gizelle, I brought you here today because you're going to help to dispel a number of myths, but also to give the audience a lot of really good information about credit scores, and credit repair.
Awesome, and that is correct. A lot of credit in general affects every aspect of your life, right? Whether not only when you want to take out credit or lending, but if you have employment, they'll be pulling your credit. If you want to rent, right, they pull your credit.
Great point.
So there's
all the time.
Is all the aspects of your life. So it's very important to take a look at it and make sure that it's healthy, right? And that's the reason why we're here today and why I'm so passionate about it. I've been in the industry for about 22 years in the financial industry, helping people get into the financial wellness, guiding them to financial wellness, evaluating credit. So I've seen a lot of spectrum of things that happen and things that are in the credit reports, consumers' credit reports that are affecting people's score and the availability of getting the lowest interest, of getting a good price for something just because their score is so low. So
100%. And Gizelle, you actually have a great background story to start with. You know, one of the great things about this country is that people can come from so many different places, and if you got a work ethic, you got integrity, you can actually turn yourself into something, just as Gizelle has done. So Gizelle, where do you come from originally?
Puerto Rico. I was born in New York, but I was raised in Puerto Rico since I was a young girl. Then came back to finish my college. I have a degree in finance and economics, and then got into the banking industry, which I mentioned for a very long time.
And who did you work for?
I worked for Wachovia, Wells Fargo now, for about 12 years. I was a regional manager, vice president, regional manager for them. I was managing about 19 financial centers, and I had like 110 employees under my direction. I also worked for PNC Bank as a vice president, branch manager, and also a financial wellness consultant, which was my fun job. Once again, creating programs, providing financial literacy to mid-sized companies, their employees, making sure that they understand how important financial literacy is today. And that's why I'm here. Did a lot of community outreach, volunteer work, providing a lot of credit educations for like the Lord's Place. I did volunteer there for a while on a monthly basis. I also did some community outreach with financial education with the Women of Tomorrow, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, just to name a few. So I'm very active of giving back because I believe in that. So.
How did you cross over then from leaving a corporation from PNC, like PNC, and cross over to that to where you started your own business to offer credit restoration?
Credit
Easy for me to
restoration,
say. Right. Credit restoration.
Yes, actually, so a couple of years ago, I went through a really a big life-changing event, and I got divorced. And as major life events, things happen, right? And especially in divorce, a lot. Your credit gets impacted, right? Because you have a lot of things joined together. You got joint accounts, and then a little bit of your emotions come up, right? And then you don't want to pay this, so they don't want to pay that, and your credit gets tanked, right? So my credit got affected back a couple of years ago, and I went to a person that will help me with the credit restoration, and that's really when I learned about this industry that gave so much, because I learned a lot. There was a lot of things in my credit report that shouldn't be there, and I'm like, oh, so I took a lot of interest in the credit repair industry. And then I became a credit consultant certified, and I'm actually a member of the Credit Consultant Association, which bounds us, right, by ethical practices, which I believe strongly in that, so that, we want to be the most trusted credit repair company out there in our neighborhood. So that's what brought me here to open up my own business, so that I can have hands-on and help our clients directly with their credit. As a branch manager and positions that I had in the corporate world, it was more indirectly, right? That we were able to help our clients. So this industry allows me to personally help them, and not only do we do credit repair, but we do financial education. We guide them into financial wellness, so that they can also keep that great score that they get well beyond our program.
So you touched on a subject that's actually an important one to me as well, which is about divorce. And there's actually a special certification in mortgages that I actually got for this specific reason. And that's people that are going through a divorce on both sides. It's one of the most emotionally draining,
Yes.
hard things that you'll ever go through. And unfortunately, a lot of times the two sides get to the point very quickly where they don't care about what happens to the other person. And as a result, as you were pointing out, the credit can get hurt. And if your credit score gets hurt, it can have all sorts of negative effects on you, including on if one side or the other wants to keep the house, so that there's some type of spousal buyout, but you might not qualify.
Correct.
Particularly if a payment or two doesn't get made, which happens a lot of times in divorces, we know. So hit on that subject a little bit more. What your personal experience was, and how that's helped you to help some other people now that you've gotten your own business doing credit restoration.
Yeah, it really taught me that, a lot of emotions, like I mentioned before, happen, right? Because we go through a lot of emotional, especially with your kids and whatnot, so you kind of don't think about it. So now, thinking back in hindsight, right, I want to teach people that are going through that process, to think about it, right? So we want to put, and I know we're putting another workshop together, so stay tuned for credit and divorce, so that we are able to teach you what to do, how to handle before you're thinking about getting divorced, what to do during a divorce with your credit, and how to protect your credit after the divorce. So there's a lot of steps to do that, and how to rebuild your credit for that matter. So that will be a course that we, might talk about a little bit later. But I know it made me think, and it really educated me of what to do in those situations, so that we can remain with a healthy credit score throughout the divorce process and beyond that. So.
Well, and because it can have such an effect, not only that you can't get a credit card, you might not be able to refinance the house. There's all kinds of things, and it can affect you thousands, tens of thousands, even more dollars if you don't really stay on top of those things. And it's a lot more complicated than people realize.
That is correct.
It really is. It could be the smallest thing. I know I got hurt on my credit report back 20 years ago on a phone bill that had to do with my sister that she had actually paid, but they had held her and nobody said a word. And then all of a sudden I go in to get a credit card and they say, oh, you got this big thing against you. And it took me almost 10 years to get rid of it. It was really terrible, and you didn't do
Yes.
anything wrong. So even the littlest things can come back to really bite you, because it's funny, you can do everything right for years and years and years, and you make one mistake, and it literally can affect your credit score 80, 100, even 150 points. So, and that can be the difference between getting a loan and not getting a loan, or at least even if you get it, you're going to get it at a much higher interest rate. That's dollars out of your pocket.
Right.
So
that is
it's,
correct.
you know, a big difference. There's a number of myths that we're going to hit on. And by the way, before I go any farther, my name is David Trumpler. I am here from Homebridge Financial Services, and this is Tell Us Your Biz. And I'm sitting here with Gizelle Reyes, who is from Sea Blue Credit Repair.
Yes.
And we are talking about credit repair, but we're also talking about mortgages. We've been talking a little bit about divorce, but we're also now going to get into some of the myths, because there's a lot of myths out there, right,
Yes.
Gizelle?
Yes.
Exactly.
And so we're here to educate, right?
Right, and even
So
and
credit
certainly
education.
me, even being in mortgages, I've been amazed at a couple that I even still was holding on to. Like, wow, got a lot
Yes.
to learn.
Yes.
So, on the list that you provided me with, a great one is checking your own credit score will impact your credit score. A lot of us out there believe that every time you check your credit score online, it affects your credit score negatively. Gizelle, is that really true?
No, it's not. Actually, it's a good thing that you're checking your credit periodically, right? It's a good habit to get into. So once you ask for your credit, it's considered a soft pull, because you're the one who's asking for the credit, score for you. So don't be alarmed that's going to impact it. It does not have any negative or hard pull effect on your credit score. Like I said, once again, it's actually a good thing that you're checking it, because there's a lot of software out there. You can go to Credit Karma, you can go to, I don't know, CreditWise, other free services that provide you those credit scores for free. Ask for them, because it's a good educational piece, right? That you're able to see where, more or less, where you're at. So that you're able to meet your goals. Either if your dream is to buy a car or a mortgage, at least it gives you an educational piece. Some of those out there also, Dave, are what they call Vantage score when you look at those, which is a little bit different than the FICO score. And there's nothing to say that no one is all right. They're all right and they're correct and they're accurate. Scoring is just a different scoring model. And Vantage score is pretty much used for educational purposes, right? For you to know where you're at more or less. FICO scores, 90% of lenders use the FICO score, and those are used for lending decisions.
Right. So let's step back for a second, because you just brought up, and we went through it really quickly. What's the difference between a soft pull and a hard pull?
Yes. So a hard pull is when, for example, you go to a lender or you asking for a credit. So the lender is actually pulling your credit to see your credit worthiness, right? How credit worthy you are for any type of credit. It could be a mortgage, it could be an auto loan. So if they're pulling your credit to provide you credit, it's going to be a hard pull. It's going to impact it's going to come back as an inquiry. It's going to impact your credit score. Soft pull can be when you, like I mentioned before, you order your own credit score because you're ordering it yourself. It's for educational purposes. Or it could be when you receive like promotional like credit card promotional items in the mail.
Yep.
Those are all soft pull, because they're just going and taking a look at your credit, but they're not actually pulling it until you actually ask for the credit. So those promotional items that you see in the mail are not affecting your score at all. Those are soft pulls.
So that's a great information, because a lot of times people don't know. They're definitely afraid because something happens and they attribute it to one thing and it can be something else. It's very easy. And then you hear all kinds of different information thrown out there, whether it's online or on TV. And a lot of times the information has got some truth to it, but it's definitely got some things that aren't truthful. So that's a really good one. You also covered the different types of credit scores, and this is a very important one as well. I know my sister, great example, when she was looking to get a loan at the beginning of this year, Credit Karma. She had a great score on Credit Karma, 750, 760, and then we did the credit pull with the mortgages, and by the way, when they pull your credit with mortgages, you get 3 credit scores, and they take the middle one, just so you know. So it's 3, but that middle one is the one that they actually will use. The high one they throw out, the low one they throw out, and it's the middle one. But there's a difference in the mortgage industry and FICO and the way their credit score is done and Credit Karma. And Credit Karma usually comes in a lot better. So talk about that for just a couple of minutes. What differences will people understand? Just some basic differences between the two.
Right. So like I mentioned before, the Credit Karma, which is the most usage people utilize right now to more or less see what your credit score is, they use what we call the Vantage score versus the FICO score. There's about a 20 to 25 point difference, and the reason why it's different is because it's weighs, right? The weighing is different. And even the regular FICO score, which is the base FICO score of 8.0, is different from the one that the mortgage use. So there's FICO has come up with different types of versions. The most common one is the 8.8, but there is the FICO 2, 4, and 5, which are older versions of the FICO system or algorithm, and that's the one that the mortgage professionals utilize. Why? Because those older versions have different weighing, and they look at things different. They may look more as the address, how often they have moved. They looked at employment. Those older versions also, they're less tolerant to paid collections than the regular FICO 8.0.
Great,
so
excellent point.
They're a little bit more hard on that. They're not too forgiving. So those are the reasons why you see perhaps a little lower score on the FICO versions 2, 4, and 5 than the regular FICO 8.0, which we see today, which is the most utilized for credit cards are utilized for the most part. But that's what that is for.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
I don't want to confuse
it gets
everyone.
well, it gets
Yeah.
confusing, it gets complicated for
Yeah.
people, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
You're listening to Tell Us Your Biz. My name is David Trumpler, and we're going to go to commercial.
And needs to be discussed. From health, family, finances, allow qualified professionals to aid in your planning. Luhu Advisors have been serving South Florida for over 30 years. A licensed real estate broker, insurance agent, assisted living administrator, and certified senior advisor, Paul Solomon is the most qualified and well-rounded advisor for any task. Specializing in real estate, long-term care, life insurance and annuities, social securities, government benefits, and senior housing. Luhu Advisors. Let us help you.
Coffee News is a fun, family-friendly weekly publication provided free to restaurants, coffee shops, and waiting areas for customers to enjoy. Grow your business today through the power of effective, affordable advertising. Coffee News is an active marketing medium specializing in the ongoing weekly promotion of your business. This builds awareness for your company so you become known as the leader of your industry and develop brand awareness so people think of you first when they want your services or products. Maximize your visibility and achieve outstanding results. For more information on Coffee News, contact Sunrise Coffee News at mail.com or give them a call at 954-951-7870.
And we're back. This is Tell Us Your Biz. My name is David Trumpler. I'm with Homebridge Financial Services. But tonight we are, at least in these first two segments, concentrating more on credit restore with Gizelle Reyes of Sea Blue Credit Repair. And Gizelle, as we started to touch on in the first segment, we were talking about myths, and there's a lot of myths that surround credit repair and the credit industry in general, without question. And a lot of times I think the credit companies want it that way.
Yes.
Let's be honest. But thankfully, we have somebody like you here who is willing to talk about it and give some people some straightforward knowledge. So we talked about checking your own credit and how it impacts and how it doesn't, your score. But there's a number of other myths, including this one, which is my overall utilization rate is under 30%. am I okay if I haven't used 2 credit cards, but I've maxed out a third?
Yeah. Well, all right. I get that question a lot. Just because your overall utilization rate is 30%, because and that 30% came about.
How did that come about? That's
Yeah,
a great
because everybody. Yeah.
point, too. There's so many different points that come off of each of these. So to go with
So FICO, what they do is they actually reward, right, consumers if they maintain for habits, right? It's really they reward you points for habits. So if you maintain at least 30% of utilization or lower, they consider that a good, that you're managing your money correctly. If you really want to maximize the points and get a little bit more points, if you leave your utilization rate between 1% and 7%, you can actually maximize those scores too. So
Really?
FICO will reward you for that. So
See, I didn't even know
1% is
that.
better than 0%, which means that you are completely paying off that debt completely. So utilization rate, back to what you were saying, if you have one credit card, let's for example is $1,000, 30% is about what, $300. So you have only up to $300 for you to utilize to be considered, right, in good standing. So now if you have 3 credit cards and all 3 credit cards have $1,000 limit each, right, that gives you what, a $3,000 limit total.
Right.
But if you utilize, let's say $900 in one credit card, because that's your favorite credit card, you get rewards. We all have our own favorite credit cards.
Indeed we do.
We always get that same card and we take it out and you put that credit card, 900, right? $900 dollars in that one credit card. You would think, okay, 30% out of the 3,000,
Sure.
30%. Well, no, that's necessarily. They will penalize you for that because FICO wants to know that you want to spread that out. So that same $900 that you have in that one credit card, don't be afraid to either balance transfer $300 here and then balance transfer another $300 there, so that you have 30% utilization on all 3 individual credit cards. If you max out one credit card and you have the other ones at 0, you're not going to see any changes on your credit credit score.
That's a great point.
So if you want to maximize it, spread it out. Don't be afraid. A lot of people are afraid of balance transfer. There's a lot of offers out there, so 0% interest rate. People don't get utilized. That's a good tip. Transfer those balances and make sure that individually you're not over 30%. And once again, if you want to really max them out, lower it down from 1 to 7%, and you'll even get more points added to your credit percentage. But yeah.
Well, and I'll give you another point too, because I had this happen to me personally, and I know a number of other people who have too. If you don't use a credit card,
Correct.
eventually they'll start to lower the amount of credit they're giving you. They'll take your limit from 1,000 down to 500. I had it done, and it was higher than that, but I had that done. So utilizing your other credit cards has that positive to it as well, that they won't take your credit down. You want to have a good amount of credit so that you've got leeway to work with.
Right, and
as
that's
you're
why I
talking
say
about.
1% is better than 0%, because if you're not utilizing the card, there's a lot of people that have cards at 0 balances, right? So what happens is that after 3 months, the lender stops reporting those to the credit bureaus, right? So you want them to report that positive payment to the credit bureaus. So after 3 or 4 months, if you're not utilizing it, either they cancel your card for inactivity, which is bad also, or they're not reporting it. So make sure that you have some type of balance. Like I said, 1% of it, leave it there so that you're able to report that balance at closing date before the due date, you close it. So
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's excellent information.
Yeah.
So what happens if I pay my entire bill by the due date? Does that improve my credit score?
not necessarily. It's like a yes or
why
no
not?
question. Because there's 2 parts for that question. So paying, I have clients that say, you know what, Gizelle, I pay my bills every single month on time, every month, minimum balance every month.
Right.
And I don't see my credit score go up, right? There's only too much, right? Because payment history is about 35% of the credit score. So
Right.
you have obtained that in theory, right? Because you're paying it on time.
Right.
What happens is that the utilization rate factor kicks in. So if you
What does that
have
mean, the utilization rate?
the risk of the utilization rate, what we were talking about before, if you have a credit card
Right.
that has $1,000
Right?
credit limit, okay, and you utilize $900 of it, so that's 90% utilization. You pay it on time, the minimum balance at due date, but what happens that on the closing date, that balance is reporting $900 to the credit bureaus. So it's reporting 90% utilization.
Gotcha.
Now, if you will pay down your credit card, that same $1,000 limit, you utilize $900 of it, the day before, I would say pay it a day before your closing date, and you pay it all in full. That date, that balance gets reported to the credit bureau as 0%, right? And then you have your due date, because usually the due date is about 15 days after your closing date. So I will recommend everyone put your all your credit cards, on auto pay. That's number one, so you don't skip so you have a payment on time, and then put it on auto pay on the day before your closing date, so that that balance, whether it's the lowest balance, whether it's zero, you pay it off, or if you pay half of it, it's better to report 40% utilization than reporting 90% utilization.
That right there is
See?
a great point. So let's go back and highlight that. When is the optimal time for somebody to actually make a payment? Should they wait until that due date? You're saying no. You're saying actually it's that day before they report it.
Yes,
and
actually
before
it's
they
good
close.
if you.
That's awesome.
Yes, if you
It
can
really is.
pay
That's great
as
to
you
know.
go. I know my son pays every month when he utilizes his credit. Every time he gets paid, he pays a little chunk of it, and that's great because they also look at the days that you have low balances. How many days have you had low balances? So the more often you can pay your bills, just do it before the closing day, so that that balance amount gets reported correctly, so that they can report that the lowest utilization rate as possible that you are able to make for that month. Because once that closing day passes, that day gets reported. Even if you zero it out the very next day, it's already reported. So it's too late. So now you're going to have to wait until the following reporting to get that posted to your credit report.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, here's another myth that I've heard many times, and that I, in fact, did once, and I had somebody tell me I had made a mistake, and so I haven't made it again. When you've paid off in full and you decide, oh, I don't really want to use that credit card anymore, is it a good idea to actually close that account?
No, it's
why
not a
not?
good idea to close any, especially old accounts. Old accounts, leave them on. I know sometimes we have folks that have credit cards that I don't use it, I don't need to use it for whatever reason, and they store it.
Yeah.
and they're right in their drawer and they don't use it. Once again, you're affecting your limit. If you close it, it affects your utilization, right? Because now your credit limit is lower for that amount. So if your credit limit of that credit card was $2,000, now your credit limit is lower. And what happens is that utilization now is going to go higher because you just cut down the amount of available money that you had.
That right there is a great point. See, when you're going out and you're wanting to use your credit, folks, whether it's for a mortgage, whether it's to get another credit card, whether it's to buy a car, whether it's to buy furniture, furniture's gotten very expensive too.
Yeah.
I can tell you, just bought some earlier this year. We bought a car too. So when you buy all those things, guess what? They're checking you out. And if you've closed credit cards, the amount of credit you have available to you is less.
Right.
And
so your utilization rate goes up, and your credit score goes down because now your utilization rate is up. And also, not only it affects your utilization rate, which is 30% of your credit score. That's a big chunk of your credit score, utilization rate. It also affects the credit history, which is 15% of your credit score. So now, by you closing an old account, you just shorten the average age of your credit history.
All right, so let's go back for a second because you've hit on the 15% and the 30%. If you could, for our audience, break down for them what is the actual percentage of each thing and what counts in general.
Sure. Okay. So the FICO score is calculated like this. You have The FICO score has 35% of it is payment history, 30% is your utilization rate, 15% is your credit history, 10% is for new accounts or inquiries, and then another 10% for your credit mix. So closing a credit card affects those two, your credit, the 15% of credit history, and it could also affect that 30% of your credit utilization. So that's a big chunk of your credit score, and that's why you see that credit scores can take a big dive when you close accounts. Now, the only time I would suggest if you ever have to close an account is maybe the newest account that you have. If for any reason you have a new account that you just opened up maybe 3 months ago and now you're not using it, because that new card that you just opened will now disappear, and now your age will open up. So old accounts, not a good idea to close it. If you have a new account in the next 2 or 3 months that you recently opened, that's okay.
Right, like if you open an account like we did at the furniture
Just
store
recent.
or at the flooring
Yes.
store, you can close that one because you just recently opened it. You get it paid off, that
Correct,
one's okay to
right.
get rid of.
But the older
after 3
ones,
months.
it's leave them open, utilize them at least once every 3 months, I would say, because once again, you want the positive payment history to get reported. If you're not using those credit cards, they're not getting utilized. They're not getting reported to the credit bureaus. And that's what a lot of people don't know and don't realize. Yeah, and they lose points for that. Yeah.
Now, one of the myths we've already touched on, too, is a lot of people out there believe that is there only one universal credit score? We've touched on the fact that there isn't. Let's go back into that a little bit more just for our audience. How many different credit scores are there out there?
Honestly, everyone is a lot of credit scores, multiple credit scores. And to be honest with you, a credit score really only exists when you ask for one. So it's not like I have this one, I'm a 720 or I'm a 680. That doesn't really exist. All this data that the credit bureaus take of you, they take all this data, and then when you ask for a credit score, they put it in this algorithm, right? And then they spit out this number. And that's how you get a credit score today. So if you have it next month, it will be different because the data may be different. The information may be different. So there's different types of scoring. And the credit really scoring is it's a little bit complicated. It's really different. A lot of people, we assume that certain items have certain points, right? Oh, how many points I can get with this or that. The credit scoring doesn't work that way. The way the credit score works in the credit world is that it's pretty much like these buckets, just to illustrate, right? So when you have, let's say FICO puts us, all consumers, in different buckets. And this bucket, let's say if they'll ask you have a collection? Yeah. Do you have a late pay? Yes. Do you have 3 or 4 good standing accounts? Yes. So all the people that fall into those yes category goes into this bucket. And this bucket, for example, and it's just to illustrate, it's worth a score of 620 points, right? So no matter how much you pay your bills on time and you have no debt, if you have these 3 items in that bucket, you will never move from that bucket. So you're capped at that 620, for example.
So where does somebody like you come in a situation like that?
So then you get a credit repair company. They help you challenge these collections or lates that you may have in there. How do we challenge them? Utilizing the law, right? The FCRA
okay, let
allows
me
us
ask you a
to do
question.
that.
Why shouldn't I just do that myself?
You can do that yourself too.
No, okay, but there's some reasons why it is really smart to come to you
Yes.
because. And that's really what I'm saying. I don't, I can do it myself, but there's a lot of things that you can do yourself, and you get down a rabbit hole, and you spend hours and hours and hours, and you realize, wow, I just wasted a whole lot of time. And a lot of times when you're just the lay person, you can't get very far.
Right.
So,
and it's kind of like the accountant, right? Like you can do your own taxes, but you go to an accountant, right? Because they know the laws, they know the ins and outs.
The loopholes as well.
To get you the best outcome They can't guarantee you a refund, but they give you the best outcome that you can possibly do. The same thing with
100%.
credit repairs, right? We don't guarantee any outcomes or any specific scoring, but we do do all the documentations for you. We utilize the law in your behalf to be able to remove any inaccurate or outdated or unverifiable data that's on your credit report. And I will tell you statistically, 80%, that's 8 out of 10 people of credit reports have contained errors. And those errors might be impacting your percentage. Exactly. Your
100%.
credit score.
I've seen it happen to me.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I agree. People don't realize.
Yeah.
And it costs you money.
Yeah.
And it can cost you a lot of money. So
Yeah.
talking to somebody like Gizelle is a drop in the bucket as to what it could be costing you. And
Yeah.
I've dealt with it personally, but I've seen it with friends and family as well.
Yeah.
There was one more I wanted to cover before we got to the break, which is the other myth is my credit score is 850. That's a perfect credit score. I should be able to get approved for everything.
Right.
What's really the truth?
Yes. And it's not necessarily. I know a lot of folks, they say I have an perfect score, 850, and that would be great if you have that score, right? A lot of us want to get to that point, but I will tell you, not all the time. You are able to get approved all the time, and why? Because you also get discriminated for having a perfect score because the lenders may look at it saying, hey, you don't have any debt, you don't have any monthly payments, so you could be discriminatory, right? Because now you don't have any history or patterns or behaviors to show them that you're able to do this loan. So don't be too quick in thinking that 850 will automatically. That's not true. Most likely you are able to get approved, but I've seen it. I have many some clients of mine coming asking that same question. Hey, I just got declined and I have like 800 score, but it's because of what's on your report or lack of. That's
It's really amazing.
Yes,
it's
it's
much
a lose-lose,
trickier than people realize.
Yeah.
And when it comes,
So it's a different world, and I
conundrum
think
wrapped in a mystery.
yeah. But
A lot
if
of
you
times.
understand how credit works, you'll be fine, right? And if you know the laws, you know your rights, right? You have the right to an accurate credit report, okay? And like I mentioned before, statistically are showing, right, 1 out of 5 of consumers have errors in their reports. So clean that up, look at it, take care, pull your credit and see what's on there, and then contact us if you have any questions about it.
And at the end of the show, we will obviously have Gizelle giving her contact information to you. My name is David Trumpler. This is Tell Us Your Biz. The phone number to reach us here, if you'd like to call in, is 888-994-4995. And we're going to go and take a commercial break. Be right back after this.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of the Brooklyn Cafe TV show. Whether you enjoy watching in the mornings or afternoons, you can now watch with your favorite merchandise. Choose from the Brooklyn Cafe t-shirts, ranging from sizes small to 3XL. Colors available include black, dark heather, and navy. Feeling chilly? Just check out our latest hoodie with over 9 colors to choose from. Sip on some Brooklyn Cafe coffee with Dawn and Freddie in a matching mug as seen on set. Brooklyn hats and special seasonal items are always popping up and available upon request. To purchase, you can visit our online store at brooklyncafe.tv/shop. Happy shopping!
If a tree falls in the woods and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Have you ever felt that your voice goes unheard? And you think that you can make a difference if only someone would listen. It's time for women in business to have a place to step into your power, a platform to embrace your hopes, dreams, and your visions, a voice to heal and restore. Your voice can make a difference. We have a platform you deserve to share your story and let your voice be heard. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself the chance to be heard and shine bright. Contact New Dawn Media by texting CAFE to 55312. That's CAFE to 55312. or call us at 866-224-5422. Your voice can make a difference.
You know when I got 2 minutes. Oh, hello. Hi. How are you doing? So I was going to say, just let me know we got 2 minutes so that we can make sure to give the information for both Gizelle and myself. You can see my phone number on the screen as well as Gizelle's. We have been talking with Gizelle about credit repair, and you can see just from this conversation there is so much information, and it's hard to work your way through, and Gizelle's helping. Huh? Phone call. Okay. Hello. This is Dave. Anybody? You can start talking.
Yes, I am
please.
here.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
My name is Mary, and hi, guys. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I would like to know, I'm on my 4th year of bankruptcy, chapter 13, and I would like to know what can I do to start rebuilding my credit score.
Great question. I'll definitely let
Question?
Gizelle go
Can
with
you
that.
repeat the question?
Yeah, can you repeat that question just so Gizelle can hear you?
Yeah. Yes, I am in my 4th year of bankruptcy, chapter 13, and I would like to know what steps can I take in order to start rebuilding my credit score.
Yeah, so did you already settle, like you already finished paying your bankruptcy? Did you had a settlement or was it dismissed?
I'm on my 4th year paying for a 5-year bankruptcy. And
Yeah,
I'm on my 4th year.
Right, so you're still paying, correct?
So I have yes, I am, yes.
Right, okay, so what
I
you,
have 2 more years to go.
correct, so you will have to wait until you finish with that, with your settlement, the time. I don't know if they gave you the 6 years, 7 years or whatnot. Once you finish paying that, then we can talk and take a look at how we can utilize the law to take a look at the reporting of it. But yes, you can rebuild it other ways, not just with the bankruptcy. It all depends also what you have in your credit history. But it is possible, yes. But you will have to finish paying. Yeah, you will have to finish paying that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you a recommendation because I've actually sat and talked to Gizelle. I would definitely use the phone number that's on the screen if you can see it, and definitely give her a call. She is wonderful. She is very happy to help you. Very reasonably priced, but she's obviously willing to talk with you as well, even before that. So I would definitely give her a call if I were you.
Yes. So there is help. There is help there. There is hope. Yeah.
And there is hope.
Yes, you can.
How do they contact you, Gizelle?
Yes, you can contact me at
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. And you can see my phone numbers on the screen, 561-962-4566.
Do it again.
561-962-4566, okay? If you have any other specific questions on that, but you will have to finish, although you could start working on other things other than the bankruptcy. If you have other challenges or other negatory or derogatory items, we can start working on those items while you're working on the bankruptcy, okay?
Okay, perfect. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for calling. Yeah, I just, see, I love that kind of stuff. I love when people just like helping people. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world today, as we
Yes.
all know, and unfortunately there's a lot of negativity. But you know what? One of the beautiful things about this country today, and has always been true, is people love to be able to step out and help. And that's great. And that lady obviously can use the help. And
Yes, and we
you're
give
the
a free
perfect person to talk to.
consultation. If anyone has any questions or whatnot, you can call that number. We provide a free consultation. We get to know you. We want to know what your goals are, what got you there, get an idea of what can we do for you. So you can certainly call. We'll give you a no obligation consultation. And we can take it from there. If something that we can help you, we will do the good recommendation and put you on our program.
Been helping Spanish as well?
Yes, we do. I speak Spanish, yo hablo español. We can help also our Spanish and Hispanic community as well. Yes.
And actually, I was going to say,
Yes.
I think that lady would have been happier speaking to you in Spanish.
Yes.
I can tell she had
and
quite,
that's
which
so
has been great.
important. Yeah,
Yes,
because especially
100%.
our Hispanic community, I would say 46%, statistics are showing that 46% of our Hispanic communities are credit invisible, meaning that they don't even have credit to begin with. So we can help you and guide you to build credit. And guide you to the steps to do that so that you're able to build your own credit and be able to apply for your dream home or dream car or whatever the financial goals that you have planned for you and your family. So not only the repair side that we work on 100% of your credit score and your financial wellness. So we provide credit education, savings, budgeting, we can talk about all those things so that we're able to put you in the right situation, in the right path for financial wellness. Yeah.
Absolutely. And as you obviously get from this conversation, credit score has a big effect on the mortgage industry. You got a bad credit score, you might not even be able to qualify to get a house or a home or the home of your dreams. And the truth is that all is not lost if that's the situation you're in. You really, at that point, should be talking with somebody like Gizelle, without question, because oftentimes there are things that she knows that she's able to do to help you that you're not going to realize yourself. You're going to feel like you've tried everything, you've run into dead ends. And I realize how hard that can be, because I can remember when I went through it back 20 years ago myself, and I didn't have somebody like you to talk to.
Right.
And it really, it can be not
But we
just
can
hard.
get your credit ready. Absolutely.
Right.
We'll work together as a team. We work as a team. We'll get
100%.
your credit ready so that perhaps, 6 to 8 months from now, your credit, your credit is strong enough to get approved for a mortgage, and we can put you in one of those programs. I know there's a lot of programs out there, and now obviously with interest rates that are climbing, right, it's even more important for you to maximize your credit score so that you can qualify for the best interest rate and get a good monthly payment.
Well, and one thing I try to tell
to
people
afford
too
it,
is
yeah.
without question, with interest rates going from sub 3% to over 7% in literally less than a year.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot less people that qualify easily than they did before.
Right.
And
That could help. Credit could help. Yeah.
absolutely, and on top of that, when somebody's getting divorced and the one spouse wants to keep the house and they're not working, there's so many different things they need to deal with there. The last thing you want is to have your credit derail you.
Correct.
And
Yes.
but there's things you need to do. You need to make sure that you take the right steps, because if you misstep even once or certainly a couple of times during the process, you can lose. And at that point, you've cost yourself many thousands of dollars as well as a whole lot of stress.
Right.
So it's really important. And one of the things you've noticed from this conversation and the conversation we just had with the lovely lady on the phone is Gizelle is more than happy to help. Well, I'm the same way. You've got a question about mortgages, you've got a question about what's happened with interest rates and how that might affect you wanting to buy a home, I am more than happy to talk. That's exactly what I like to do. I
Use
like
us
to
as
educate people
resources,
just
right.
like you do.
Right. To use us as resources
Right.
for you. We can answer some questions and get you in the right track for you to get that home that you will like. Yeah.
100%.
So-
Well, and a year ago, it was easy to be
yeah.
a mortgage person, a mortgage officer. That's true. Everybody was getting 3%. Things were selling. If you needed a mortgage, you were good. What people don't realize a lot of times is at 7%, you actually have a much higher threshold to
Correct.
reach to actually
Yeah.
qualify easily. So that's part of what you got to take into account, but don't be afraid. The
Right.
worst thing you can do is let fear take over, not communicate, and then try to get through, or just don't. I don't cost anything to talk to. Gizelle doesn't cost anything to talk to either. Pick up the
Yeah.
phone,
Yes.
send me an email, come through the website, I don't care. Send me smoke signals.
Right.
I'm happy to talk
We're
because
here.
I want to help people. I want to educate people. If you're wanting a home, I want to help you get a home. If you're needing credit, you want a credit card, you need to buy furniture, you're buying a home, you're buying a car, but you're struggling to get there, then you want to talk to Gizelle, okay? It's just that simple to me. And I love that. I love working with people who want to help people. That's the most important thing. That's why actually I brought Gizelle on tonight, because I could sit here and talk about mortgages for hours. If you listen to the show on Thursday, once I got rolling, they couldn't shut me up. It was kind of fun. But the truth is there's a lot to talk about now. I mean, with the interest rates the way they are, and just with inflation having done what it's done,
Yes.
and coming right out of COVID, and everything we all went through for 2 years during that, the bottom line is we both know there's a lot of people right now that are
That
in
need the
distress.
help. Exactly, that need the help, and now is the
Exactly.
time to get ready. Don't wait until, wait and wait. Oh, I'm not ready. Start now. Start building your credit now. Start checking. The first thing you can do is just pull your own credit. It's if you go to annualreports.com, you can get it for free. Pull your credit report, see what's on there. If you want us to get a consultation to us to take a look at it, we can take a look at it to see your situation and get you in the right direction. But don't wait, do it now. Start working on it so that you're able to get apply for a loan.
Yeah, whether it's for a home or
David.
for a car or even just for a credit card.
Right.
Because as I said, so many people, particularly at the beginning, they're so afraid. Who do I reach out to? Who do I talk to?
Yeah.
Pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Talk. There are people that want to help you, but it is very daunting.
Yeah.
And there's
Yes,
so
yes.
much. I mean,
Yes.
it's like so many of these things have been made so complicated. Dealing
Yeah.
with the credit card companies, dealing with your credit score and how they change. I mean, it's crazy. We're coming close to the end of the show, and with that in mind, I want to make sure that both of us get out our contact information. But let us start with Gizelle, and how do people get in contact with you, Gizelle?
And I want to just say thank you to the audience for listening in and tuning in. I want to also thank and do a shout out to Steve O'Flaherty from New York Sound Machines. He a good friend of mine that helped with me in the business. My contact information. The name of my company is Sea Blue Credit Repair. My name is Gizelle Reyes. You can contact me at 561-962-4566. Once again, 561-962-4566, Gizelle Reyes.
And what's
Thank
your
you.
email address?
And my email is
And your
Gizelle.
website?
Is Gizelle, Gizelle at seabluecreditrepair.com, and that's C like CEA, right? The C like the ocean, Sea Blue creditrepair.com, and my website is www.seabluecreditrepair.com. You can go and check out my website. There's also, you can do a free consultation, schedule a free consultation right at your fingertips. So thank you so much for your time.
And by the way, you
Thank
meant
you very much.
SEA. Just so you know. You said CEA.
I mean, I see.
No, I was saying that it's SEA as in sea, the ocean, but it's SEA on both, just so you know.
Blue.
Well, it's important because people are going to want to contact you without
Yes,
question.
yes, thank
My
you.
name is David Trumpler. I'm with Homebridge Financial Services. The best way to contact me, my phone number, as you can see on the screen, is 561-324-7387, or you can contact me through the Homebridge website. It's www.homebridge.com. HOMEBRIDGE.com, and / David Trumpler. All you have to do is go to the location. I am in the Delray Beach branch. Say that fast 3 times. The Delray Beach branch of Homebridge. We're actually out of New Jersey. We're a national company. In fact, we're one of the top 5 direct lending mortgage bankers in the country. And in addition to that, we have over 200 locations and 5 here in Florida as of right now. I would like to give a couple shout outs. One to a good friend who's helped me out in the business and is an investor with me, Mr. John Levy. The gentleman who helped me get the job with Homebridge, Morgan O'Brien, who also works with Homebridge out of South Carolina. Brian Sachs as well, who's my mentor, and he's the one who runs the Delray Beach branch. And with all of that said, we thank you very much for joining us. We're actually going to be on the cafe show on Thursday, along with
more information.
Exactly. So yeah, but it's good information. But we're also going to be working together and giving presentations going forward, and we'll be giving more information about that when the time comes. We thank you very much for joining us today. We thank Dawn and
Yes.
Freddie for having us on and allowing us to
Absolutely.
talk with you about all this great information that we have to share. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
This has been Tell Us Your Business, where a special guest comes on every week and tells us what they do. All shows can be seen on amp2.tv, and if you wish to be a guest, call 866-224-5422 and tell us about your business. That's 866-224-5422. This has been an amp2.tv production.
The opinions expressed